Hey everybody, Sean Dotson here with the flip side. I want to welcome everyone to the Forrest Fenn Treasure Hunt 2018 year in review with the flip side. If you don't know, I'm Sean Dotson. I am the host of the Flip Side Show, and just want to say cheers to everybody and Happy New Year to you. So as always, I'm down here at the Three Rivers Brew Distillery in Farmington, New Mexico, and I'm enjoying what's called a America, that's without the A, IPA that's brewed right here at Three Rivers Brewery. Great IPA, very good. I've had one already. This is my second, so we're ready to get this show started. So cheers to you. So guys, want to welcome you to the non-PC beer drinking thrill of the chase talking show. So this is a show where it's totally non-PC, you know, words can fly, everything else, guys. So this is, if you got kids around, you might send them in the other room or something, because you never know what's going to happen here on the flip side. But this is really kind of, I've had a lot of people approach me and tell me that I should do a 2018 kind of year in review, somewhat like the weekend update. And like I said in my teaser video, I think there was several other individuals who are wanting to do something like that. So we gave them the opportunity to do that. And now I want to put out the flip side year in review. So that's what we're doing today. I want to welcome you all. We're here just to have fun, guys. These are all just my opinions. The stuff I'm going to go over is really just based on my opinion. And I am by no means any kind of authority on this chase. I'm just like you guys. I'm having fun and enjoying this thing and doing what we do here. So there's a lot to talk about, guys. I mean, I'm going to try and keep this as quick and to the point for everybody. I've already put some links in the description of the video below for some of the articles that we're going to talk about, so that you can go back and find those if you haven't heard of that article and you want to read that for yourself. So the links are already in there if you want to find those. I'll also try and do some updates to it. If there's some stuff you want to fast forward to, I'll try and put some timestamps in there for the different sections of things I'm going to talk about. So if you don't want to listen to a certain thing, you can kind of fast forward to a different timestamp. But of course, that won't happen until I finish the video. So you guys better look at that. But there's a lot to talk about, guys. I mean, many of the hot topics that happened this year was, of course, we had the whole 200-footer thing. We had the foot in the water, you know, supposedly hint from Forrest Fenn. We had the whole clues versus hints debate. We had Forrest Fenn saying he's never sent out any kind of private hints to anybody. We had supposedly secret recordings. We've had punctuation debates, whether punctuation is relevant or not relevant in the poem. We've had a lot of debate about monopolization of the Fenntube community. We've had a lot of debates about capitalization of the chase. You know, are people capitalizing monetary Y off the chase? We can talk about that. We've had the whole gut feeling, you know, thing that came out that was probably the big, you know, deal all summer long. You know, everybody, it was a gut feeling that they were going to find it. We had, you know, a lot of debate about the pitfalls of being a so-called chase celebrity. We had, of course, the whole break into the Fenn compound. So there was a lot of hot topics and a lot of things that created and generated a lot of debate within the Forrest Fenn chase community this year. And we'll touch on some of those things, you know, throughout this whole video. Now, we also had a lot of highlights in the chase this year as well. We had a lot of functions going on. We obviously had Fennbury this year in June, and I think Connie Wilmoth did an awesome job on organizing that and putting it all together. So a lot of props to Connie. And there was also a book signing that Forrest Fenn did, where a lot of chasers got to come and meet Forrest and get their book signed. And Toby Eunice put a really good video together with a lot of different cuts, you know, from A Gypsy's Kiss that you can go watch. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff out there. We also had the function in the Junction up in the Wyoming area. We had that was put on by Cynthia. You know, a great job by Cynthia Meacham. We had the meetups in Vegas. That was awesome. We had the whole you know, coins going on this year with Mike Callens and putting that all together. We had the Jamie fundraising. Obviously, that was an unfortunate event that happened for her and her family because of the fires in California this year. but the Chase community really came together as a whole, put all their differences aside, and really came together for one of our own. I thought that was a great event that really showed, the Chase community and supporting each other. So I thought that was awesome. And we raised nearly $60,000 for Jamie and Bill, and I thought that was amazing. Great job for everybody. And one good thing, we did not lose a searcher this year, due to water navigations or anything else. I think that's something that we all can be somewhat proud of too. We didn't have anybody doing anything stupid out there to get themselves hurt or killed. I think that's great. And I mean, it's sad that we have to talk about that, but we did, we talked about it early, in the search season on A Gypsy's Kiss, where we talked about, my whole video about a water crossing. We need to keep ourselves out of water, find other ways around it and stuff. And I think it was good that we had that communication. I can't say that was the reason why we didn't have anything. I think people were just thinking about that and more conscious about it. So that's great. But I think overall, I think the big thing that I at least took away, and again, these are all just my opinions and I'm no authority on the Chase, is that I think this really kind of was the year of the Fenntubers. And it really kind of added a whole new dynamic to the Chase community that we haven't really had, in prior years. It's really just been the forums and Forrest Fenn communicating through the forums and everything else. And this year, we just had this huge explosion as far as the Fenntube and the YouTube community out there, putting out a lot of content. It just added this whole new dynamic, to the Chase, where we got to really know a lot of our searchers out there, and I've got to give some props to some of the people who really, started the whole YouTube, kind of craze. And that was really, A Gypsy's Kiss is a big part of that. Toby and Shelley, of course, Mike Cowlings with Calazars, really was one of the front runners of that. And also Bill Gorman. So I think that those three, and I could be obviously missing somebody, and I apologize if I'm missing somebody, but, Toby and Shelley, Mike Cowlings, and Bill Gorman, in my opinion, were kind of some of the front runners in starting that whole Fenntube, sensation and getting things kicked off. But I think it really added this whole new dynamic, to this whole entire community. So I just want to give some props out to them. But it's when you put yourself out there in the community as some people want to call it a Chase celebrity or whatever else, and you put yourself out there, you definitely open yourself up to, if you want to call them the 7% or whatever, people are going to, pick you apart, but that's part of it. You have to be able to accept that when you put yourself out there like that some people are just not going to like you. Some people are going to have problems with you. Some people are going to call you out on things. That's just part of it. And sometimes you're going to have some thick skin and deal with that. So, we all, probably should respect that in some way, but as a person who's putting content out there, we have to be aware of that and accept that not everybody's going to like what you have to say and accept you for who you are. But guys, we got a lot to talk about. I've highlighted some of the top things, but we've got 28 different featured Q&As that came out this year. We had 11 scrapbooks that came out, and we had about 11, articles that came out in publications and on the internet. Those are some of the things I really want to talk about. I won't talk about every individual one. I'm kind of highlight some of the things that I think, were some of the key featured Q&As or articles or scrapbooks that came out. And that's kind of what I want to highlight about. So guys, we're just going to jump right into it. I don't have the chat up here, so give me a minute, see if I can pop up the chat. One second, guys. This always takes a minute. So just want to, before we really get started, I'm just going to really quick say hi to a few of you guys. I think it was Jason Dent was a front-running bastard to jump in here and get things started a little over an hour ago. So cheers to you, Jason. Let Maverick Searcher, how are you? Jimmy Fast. Hooli, I'm assuming that's H-Pert. I think you might have changed your name over. Glenna Friedman. Adam Foddy, hey Adam, GG, Dave Oren, Marty Bird, Venetti, that's a new one, Journeyman, hey Journeyman, Sasha, hey Sasha, Anon, 22 Knarf, haven't seen you in a while, RC, that's Rooster Cogburn, that's Forrest Fenn's bestie, Davio 22, my brother from another mother out there in California, William, hey Will, how are you doing? Yes, hey Mofo. Davio putting a whole bunch. Finders Keepers. Hello. Joe S. Hey, Joe. Mr. Quiver. That's a new one I haven't heard. Gary Sandberg. Haven't seen you in a while. Jake Faulkner. How you doing, Jake? I think I'm caught up with him. Treasure Getter. How are you? MEH. Michael. How are you doing? Meh. Is that what we say? Zozo Rocks. Britt Chaser. Hey, Britt. Dave Erickson, Paul. Hey, what time is it there for you, Paul, and Britt? I don't know. It's got to be real early in the morning or late for you guys. I'm not sure. Dirk, how are you? Yeah, tell us what time it is. Jeremy Parnell, how you doing, Jeremy? Good to see you in there. So, guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but I did shorten the channel name to just the flip side. So it's not, the flip side of Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt. So we kind of shortened it. I had a lot of people say that we need to shorten it and stuff like that. So I did shorten it so it might be easier for you to make a comment in there. 8 p.m. Okay, so yeah, it's good prime time for you guys out there. And I know, guys, I'm competing obviously with the playoffs. I think if you're watching the Chargers New England game, I'm sure you're probably really. Hopefully, I'm not ruining that for anybody. Maybe I'll just shut my mouth. But anyway, so we'll try and get this done, and hopefully you guys can go watch the Saints-Eagles game afterwards. I really haven't paid attention to football this year. Normally we do. I really haven't paid attention to it. So, guys, I'm going to jump right into it. Again, all this stuff is just my opinion. I'm not a authority on the chase. The flip side, we're our own show, and everybody else has their own opinions and do things different. So I really, 2018 really, in my opinion, kind of kicked off with that, that ABC Nightline documentary, kind of short documentary that came out on the 12th of January of last year, a week from yesterday, a year ago. And it really kind of featured Dal Neitzel and Cynthia Meacham in their searching and everything up in, the Montana, Wyoming area. Great video, a short thing, but really what stood out from that video, most of us will probably agree, is that kind of at the end of that video, Forrest Fenn had told us, try to simplify if you can. And what did that mean? And everybody, was going back and forth on what that really, what they believe it meant. And to me, in my opinion, it kind of went back to that whole get back in the box, that we got from 2016, that featured Q&A that we received from Forrest, where he was telling us that, Forrest Fenn was saying, many people are looking outside the box as if the solution lies out there somewhere. And to me, for him telling us to simplify if we could, meaning to just focus on the box, focus on, basically just the book and the poem. I'm a poem purist guy, so my main focus is really on the book, but I still think, on the poem, but I still really think the book, is part of that. So I think him telling us getting the back in the box and then to simplify if you can really was kind of reiterating that, that whole point. Most people may not agree with that. And I think that really got overshadowed by the 6 questions that came out, which, we're all anticipating, that's coming up here in a few weeks. We're anticipating the 6 questions. And this year's 6th question was a big one, and it was called Double Charmed. And it was the second question out of that 6 questions is probably what hit everybody like a ton of bricks. And I'm going to read that question. And I'm sure all of you remember this, but the second question from Jenny was, are you aware of any more progress made past the first 2 clues? Have searchers homed into other clues or words in the poem? Have searchers been closer than 200 feet to the treasure? And Forrest Fenn's response was, I am rarely told exactly where people are searching, so I don't know if they are getting closer or not. My gut feeling is that someone will find it this summer. And man, that just was like the dull bullet, shot heard across the chase community that, oh my God, he has a gut feeling it's going to be found this summer. And, everybody was just, up in arms about that, and there was a lot of debate back and forth on, okay, well, if you haven't sent your solve into Forrest, it's not you. He said this summer, so it's got to be up in Yellowstone. He said all these, and there was the debate. I mean, I was a big person stating that he said summer because he doesn't want people going up in Yellowstone in the middle of winter, before the snow melts prior to that. So there was a safety component and everything else in there. But there was, man, all kinds of debate back and forth about, that whole gut feeling. And I think even K-Pro had mentioned on the Hint of Riches, she put a poll out there on how many people thought the gut feeling was talking about them. And mostly everybody was like, oh, it's me. The gut feeling is based on me. And, even on a Gypsy's Kiss, Toby and Shelley did a whole, panel video on the whole gut feeling. And in that video, we talked a lot about that. But, a big thing that we had talked about here on the flip side was that the gut feeling is really always based on, intuition and instinct. It's not really based on any kind of fact or any kind of knowledge of anything. It's just a gut. My suspicion is this. And then we had, some kind of, feedback from Forrest on that gut feeling based in a Q&A that we saw on Mysterious Writings that came out on the, I believe it was June 28th of this year. And that was, the question was, Mr. Fenn, summer is here. How is your gut feeling? Hopeful? And Forrest Fenn's response was, my gut feeling is wavering. So a lot of people were, okay, so what does that mean? As somebody searched and didn't find it, what's going on there? So that, now he said the gut feeling will be found this summer. And then in, the middle of the summer, summer's already here. And, he's saying it's wavering. So what did that mean to a lot of people? So again, there was a lot of this debate about the gut feeling. And then here, just a month later, we ended up getting an update thanks to K-Pro over on Thor. And this was July 31st, where Forrest Fenn responded or gave a clarification to the gut feeling, where he said, my gut feeling is nothing but a hunch based on no information, and no one should pay any attention to it. So it's like this whole, we're all getting ramped up that somebody's going to find it this season. And then all of a sudden he takes the wind out of our sails and says it's basically on nothing at all. Who knows? Cheers. So, and I kind of went back to that whole mention that, a gut feeling is based on instinct and intuition. It's not really based on any solid information. Jason, I see your question there. But to me, it was like, my wife had mentioned something to me the other day, and I'm not ready to really go into that, but it made me realize that, there could have been something in Forrest Fenn's gut feeling that wasn't based on anything that any of us searchers had told him prior to February, but it could have been some, contributing factor that was completely out of our hands, or Forrest Fenn's hands, or the search community's hands, or anything else that caused that gut feeling. And it was just an interesting thing that she had mentioned. I'm not really willing to go into that because it's kind of, confirmation bias, or whatever you want, into David and I solve, but I really don't want to get into that. Jason, I see you said the flip side. I always felt like the gut feeling comment was a ham-handed in an otherwise fairly tight and scripted scheme. Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of people, and there was a lot of debate about the gut feeling. Was it about him trying to market the chase and trying to keep people interested in the chase and things like that? Sure. I don't know if that's kind of what you're alluding to, Jason, but I think there was a lot of, talk back and forth about, Forrest Fenn is obviously a big salesman and a promoter and everything else. That's his point, is he's trying to promote and entice the chase and get more people into it. If that's to promote book sales or to keep more people in, I don't know. But I think his gut feeling was based on some kind of instinct or intuition on something that was probably outside of all of our, control. And one of my thoughts about the gut feeling was really, it was based on maybe a lot of searchers honing in on the correct general area. It didn't mean that he was for sure that they were going to find it, but if a lot of people were really maybe with confidence figuring out the first two clues and getting themselves in the correct general area, that could have been based on his gut feeling. It didn't mean that it was fact, just so it could happen. I'm kind of going on this a lot longer than I really want to go on, but it definitely, the whole gut feeling was probably one of the biggest hot topics throughout the year of 2018. Definitely. But I think there was a couple other questions within those 6 questions that were definitely overshadowed by that whole gut feeling. We just all got like this, hit with that knowledge that is potentially someone's going to find it, that we overlooked a couple other of the feature questions or responses we got from Forrest that I think were very telling. And one of those came out of the 6th question response that Forrest Fenn gave. And Forrest Fenn, this was his response, and I'm not going to read the whole question. You can go back and you can find it. But Forrest Fenn's response to the sixth question was, it helps to know something about Rocky Mountain geography when making plans to search for my treasure. Rocking chair ideas can lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence is needed to complete the solve. Google Earth cannot help you with the last clue. And I thought that whole response by Forrest Fenn was completely overshadowed by the gut feeling comment, and people were just talking about the gut feeling and not paying attention to what he said there, because he's saying that you can't solve all 9 clues from home. Rocking chair ideas or armchair ideas can lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence is needed to complete the solve. So he's basically telling you that you've got to have boots on the ground to solve this, and while most of us already know that, and the obvious thing is, yeah, you've physically got to go out there and pick up the treasure. That would be the argument that most people would say, and I understand that. But I think that there's a point in those first few clues that get you to the correct general area, and then what you have to do beyond that. I'm a 9 clues, 9 sentences guy, and I'm not going to go into detail on that. You guys know how I feel about that. But this whole mention by him of rocking chair ideas can lead one to the first few clues really reminds me of his comments from the November 2013 book signing for Too Far to Walk, where he was there with Douglas Preston and Michael McGarity. And in that video, Forrest Fenn says, if a searcher was to, read the poem over and over and decipher the first few clues, they could find the treasure. It may not be easy, but it definitely isn't impossible. I can walk right straight to it. So he's kind of reiterating what he said, 5 years prior to, that if somebody could solve those first few clues, they could find the treasure. It may not be easy. So what does that really, tell us? It's just something that I think a lot of people overlooked. They were so focused on the gut feeling that they did not, really put a lot of emphasis and talk on that. I'm not saying not everybody, but I think the majority of the search community was overshadowed by the whole gut feeling, and everybody thought it was him. Maybe that was purposeful by Fenn. I don't know. Cheers. Hey, Lori James, 23 Monarcha. Nope. You guys are obviously talking good in there. Ross B., how are you? So next, again, guys, we had, I'm going to move on to the featured questions that came out, and there was 28 featured Q&As. I cannot, there's no way I can go through each and every one of them. So I picked out ones that I thought, really stood out to me. Now, these may not be the ones that stood out to you, and I understand that I'm not an authority on the chase or anything, but these are the ones that stood out to me. And there's only 9 of them. There's no way we'd be here for hours trying to talk about all of them. So the 9 that really stood out to me, and the first one that came out was February 23rd, which was the Home of Brown, titled The Home of Brown. And the question was, there are many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt. Is there more than one Home of Brown? So the question was kind of centered around Forrest Fenn. We know there's many places where warm waters halt, but is there only one Home of Brown? And Forrest Fenn's response was, no, Jill, there is only one Home of Brown in my poem. So I thought that was, really interesting. We all know that, as he says, there's many places in the Rocky Mountains where warm waters halt, and nearly all of them are north of Santa Fe. So it's, what is he alluding to there? But there's only, like he said, there's only one Home of Brown in his poem. So is he talking specifically about just the one that's in his poem, or that there could be other specific Home of Browns in the Rocky Mountains? But we're talking about his very specific one in the poem. So I think that was a very interesting one that came out, and I'm sure there's many people that have any about them. Guys, again, if you have a question, I'm watching your guys' chat. I like Marty Bird is moderating himself over there. Mr. I don't know, that's like a Russian thing. I can't understand who that person is. Rodney Greenway. Hey, Rodney, good to see you in there. And then the next one that kind of stood out to me came out on March 1st, and it was the one about no private hints. And Forrest Fenn had there was a question in there, but his basic response was, I have never said anything in a personal email or private conversation that would assist in anyone finding the treasure. and this has been a big debate throughout the entire year. There was a lot going on some of the different forums about people potentially receiving private, hints from Forrest Fenn. And then even throughout the year, we had the video released from, Jason Dent. We had the communications about the whole foot in the water thing, the 200-footer, everything else. But Forrest Fenn has told us many times, that there have been never said anything in a personal, excuse me, email or private conversation would assist anyone with the treasure. Now, I kind of, me personally, I've also been somewhat critical of Forrest Fenn and questioning him too, about these things. And I think that, we ought not to bow down to the altar of Forrest Fenn. We need to question the man, who is the architect of this. That's all part of this. We have to, question those things, or we're not being objective searchers. We're not being objective people. Forrest Fenn is not a god. Yes, we're all thankful that he put this thing together for us, and we're having a great time in doing this. But we also have to be, excuse me, objective, toward the man who put this thing together and question him. I've been one of those people that have questioned him too, myself. He's not beyond reproach, and we should question him. But, he's come out and said, I've never given any private hints in it. I hearken back to that whole Experience Skinner story that you can find on Dal Neitzel's site. I don't have a link in the below, but I'll try and put a link for you guys, where he talks about, him going into this antique store and finding this skinning knife, back in the dark corner in a chest, hidden away. And it had this price tag of $100. And he was whimsically thinking in his mind, oh my God, this thing is so special. And what is this knife seen in its life? And, and he buys it from that guy. And then he leaves there and he says, man, that in his mind, he starts having this buyer's remorse. And he's like, that salesman or that store owner got me with the oldest trick in the book. And I'm paraphrasing all this. Whereas it wasn't how special that knife was, it was how special that person could make me think it was. And I look at that and I think, is there a lesson that Forrest Fenn obviously learned? And is there a lesson that we as searchers can learn from that story? And is there a lesson that we all can learn from 2018 about so-called, what we believe were private hints or clues or anything else that we got or some searchers got from Forrest Fenn? And that was, it wasn't how special that supposed hint or clue was from Forrest. It was how special he made us think that was. And we ran with that. I mean, look at Scott Conway. Scott Conway, in his video admits to thinking that the whole, did you put your foot in the water, was some, significant hint or clue from Forrest Fenn. And he ran with that. And was it? We don't know. It's just how special Forrest Fenn made us think that hint or clue was, or that Scott Conway or K-Pro or anybody else that gets individual information from Forrest Fenn. And if you go watch the video, the most popular one, I think it's the Moby Dicken ones from 2013, the 1 hour one from Forrest Fenn. In that video, he talks about where, people have always told him they found the treasure. And he has this one guy that said, Forrest Fenn, I've got your treasure right here. And Forrest Fenn says, well, sir, please tell me how the hot water affected the patina on the treasure chest. And the guy said, thank you, and hung up the phone. Laughs like that guy's now going to go through all the, the geothermal or hot springs in the Rocky Mountains looking for the treasure, because that guy thought that he got some special hint from Forrest, and Forrest Fenn, the consummate salesman, sold him on that. Is it misleading? Is it, just questioning because Forrest Fenn knows that we have no confidence in that? That's Forrest Fenn, guys. So again, I think goes back to that story about, the Experience Skinner. It's not how special that knife was. It was how special he could make us think it was. And that's Forrest Fenn. We've got to be wary. Be careful what you ask for. Moving on, and I'm going to waste a lot of time on that. Next featured Q&A we had was on that I think was important, was April 24th of 2018. And the one was, Dear Forrest, you say that there was only ever one place you wanted to hide your treasure chest because of how special that spot was to you. When a searcher arrives to that location, will they understand why it was so special to you? And did you include that reason in your autobiography in the chest? And this was a question by Jenny, and Forrest Fenn responded, Jenny, maybe they will, but probably not. Their mind may be on other things. It was in my autobiography until I removed it for personal reasons. So again, there's this whole, debate about why this place is so special to Forrest. And I think, people are putting this overemphasis on why this place is special. And they're trying to force fit, their interpretation of that special place into their solve, and not just allowing the poem to lead them to there. But Forrest Fenn is saying, look, their mind is going to be on other things. Obviously, holy shit, I just found a treasure chest with 20.2 troy pounds of gold and gems and everything else in it. I need to clean my shorts and get home. Their mind's going to be on other things. They're not going to be focused on why that place is special. And Forrest Fenn has even said, he removed that reason out of his autobiography for personal reasons. So to Forrest Fenn, that place is personal to him and only to him. Like he said in many videos, I think the one with Jennifer London, he specifically says, that place is special to me. We all think that Yellowstone is a special place to all of us because it is our first national park. It's a beautiful, amazing area. It's special to all of us and should be, because it is one of our national treasures, to the American people. But this place, wherever he put that treasure, is special to only Forrest for whatever reason that we cannot, possibly fathom yet. We may even get there, may not even know. So again, I think we overemphasize why that place is both special to us. And even if Forrest Fenn removed it for personal reasons, what that personal reason is, a lot of us want to assume, that maybe that's where Forrest Fenn and Peggy had a special moment. We don't know. Maybe it could have been the last place that Forrest Fenn went fishing with his father, or went fishing with Skippy, or something like that. We don't know. We don't know. And we may never know. Again, if you find the treasure chest and you're sitting there in front of Forrest Fenn and you're handing him back his bracelet, and you ask him why it was special, he's going to say, that's none of your business. It's just special to me. Who knows? Marty, what are you saying over there? Cheers. Okay. Let's see, we had, okay. So May 11th, this is the third one. This was titled Decisions. And the question was, Forrest, when you hid the treasure chest, when the treasure chest is found, would you prefer the finder not disclose the exact resting spot? This was by a person named Afana. And Forrest Fenn went on and said, hey, I love your name. It reminds me of this and blah, blah, blah. But the meat and potatoes of his response was, whoever finds the treasure will have more than a few decisions to make. One of them will be whether or not to reveal the location. I will leave that up to the finder. So again, the decisions. Forrest Fenn is outright saying, listen, I'm never going to reveal the location. I'm not going to reveal it now, to you guys, obviously. And I'm not going to reveal it even after it's found, if he's still with us. He's leaving that decision up to the finder. And I love that, because, David and I feel very strongly that we want the thrill of the chase to continue. So we love the fact that we know that even if we're lucky enough and fortunate, I hate to say lucky, but fortunate enough to find the treasure, that we feel that we're not going to reveal that location, because we want that thrill of the chase to go on. We want people to enjoy it. Those people that still just love the thrill of the chase, they know a treasure's not out there. They still want to match wits. And here is Forrest Fenn saying, I'm going to leave that up to the eventual finder. So I have a much respect for Forrest Fenn for saying that he's even going to keep that a secret, even if somebody finds out. I love that idea. I know it's very whimsical to think about putting some kind of plaque out there or something, for those to find, that after the real finder finds this, and leave some kind of plaque out there for those that come after the eventual finder. I love that idea. I hope that whoever finds it goes with that. If David and I ever find that, that's kind of our plan. But I mean, isn't that cool that for those people that really want to enjoy the thrill of the chase? But I'm glad that Forrest Fenn is admitting that, he's never going to reveal that location. We'll leave it up to the finder. So I love that. Personally, to me, that was a big one. Then on June 28th, guys, I know I'm rambling on. It's just me. If you've got questions or anything you want to interject, please note something in there. Just going to make sure I didn't miss anything really quick. Steve Gahagan, thank you. Good to see you too. Sheila D, that's a new name. How are you? Mike Loggy, good to see you. Indulgence, hello. Saying hi to a couple of you guys. Jerry Stone, hey Jerry, how are you? Jason Eunice, I like the plaque idea. At least it would put you on out of your misery if you came upon it. Yeah, right. I mean, the finder could just come out and vomit all the answers and everything else, and you've taken the whole thrill of the chase out of it. And it's done. The thrill is gone at that point. I know it's whimsical, guys, and I will admit to that. I'm an emotional guy. You guys know that. I'm very passionate about the thrill of the chase. There's the upset side of me, then there's the emotional side of me. That's who I am. But I'm very passionate about this. I love this. It goes back to why I'm in this, about my father and the relationship we had and what he left out there, and I never got to have that moment with him. So yeah, I'm very passionate about this, and I love that idea. I hope that if David and I are fortunate enough and wise enough and analyze this thing right, that if we find it, that may be our plan. And I hope that whoever does find it goes with that, because it is about the thrill of the chase and not the quarry, not the find. Enough about that. Next, I want to move on to June 28th, which was the gut feeling comment. I know I talked about it earlier, but we had a question. It said, summer is here. How was your gut feeling? Hopeful? And Forrest Fenn had responded, my gut feeling is wavering. And then, of course, we had the Thor clarification from July 31st, where he said, it was based on nothing. Nobody should pay attention to it, kind of thing. So it was this kind of whole, oh God, we're all excited. Somebody's going to find this. And then, it's wavering. And for whatever reason, we don't know. Again, I think there was some outside contributing factors that could have influenced his gut feeling, not based on anything that anybody was really telling him. But I think there might have been some contributing factors that are completely out of the search community's control. Cheers. Hey, Bill Gorman, I see you jumped in here. Good to see you, brother. Eugene, I see you're in here as well. Gregory Colvin Garcia, that's GCG. I've had some good conversations with him. Good to see you in here as well. Now, the next one I want to talk about, and this is the fifth of the 9 I want to talk about, is on July 13th, we had the whole physical decoys, Q&A. It came out. And I'm going to read this whole one here for you guys really quick. And the question was, you have said in the past that your poem is straightforward with no subterfuge. I can't even read my own writing. Recent comments on Jenny's site suggest you might leave physical decoys near the treasure to confuse searchers. Might we expect such if one of us is lucky to be that close to your trove one day? Thank you, Randy L. And I think that this whole physical decoys Q&A came up based on a previous Q&A where a searcher named Iceman on Jenny Kyle's website was talking about, as a pilot, Forrest Fenn, would know about physical decoys and all this other stuff and may employ that in this treasure hunt. But Forrest Fenn's response to Randy L was, no, Randy, my mind doesn't work like that. Now, I only bring this up because the immediate Q&A that came out on the 19th really kind of coincides with this. And let me read that one. We can all talk about it. But on July 19th, this was the question, and the whole Q&A was titled "Something Near the Chest." And here was the question. And Eugene, you're here. This was your question. I believe it was you, and you can correct me if I'm right or wrong. But the question was, "Dear Forrest Fenn, after reading your last question and answer," this is talking about the physical decoys one, "from Randy L., and not knowing whether or not the blaze may be something that existed before you hid the treasure or something you may have created, I'm wondering if you had considered leaving something near the chest to reassure searchers of their finding. Sincerely, Eugene." Now, again, I question, Eugene, was that you? You're in here. Maybe you can tell us if this was your question or not. But Forrest Fenn's response was, "No, Eugene, I did not consider doing that." And I find that very telling, because if Randy L was thinking there's some kind of physical decoys or confirmations or stuff that may lead us astray near the treasure chest, Forrest Fenn is then kind of reconfirming, no, he didn't leave anything out there, to throw us off. And was the blaze something he created or something was there before? He said he didn't consider doing any of that. And it kind of reminds me of the Q&A from May of 2016, and it was about, I think it was from Becky of West Virginia. I think this might have been her question, but her question was, how far is the blaze from the treasure chest, or how far is the treasure chest from the blaze? And Forrest Fenn's response was, Becky, I didn't take the measurement. But logic tells me if you don't know where the blaze is, it really doesn't matter. But if you can find the blaze, the answer to your question will be obvious. And I thought that was kind of telling, because, there's I want to get my mind straight on this, but I think there's a lot of people that think that, they're physically going to, walk up to some mark on a tree or a mark on a rock and look down, and there's the treasure chest. But if it really is just some mark on a tree or a mark on a rock, isn't that something that is actually feasible to remove? I mean, you could cut down the tree, you could scrape the mark off the tree. If it's a mark on a rock, you could, blow up the rock with a sledgehammer or a piece of dynamite, or you could scratch out the that mark on a rock. So it just, that's kind of how my mind works. And it's, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, guys. But it's, cheers, let me catch my breath here. It really makes, me believe that the blaze is something that is obviously way more bigger than we all really believe. That it's definitely, while it's not impossible to remove, it's definitely not feasible. I mean, if you hypothetically think that the blaze could be Brown Mountain or could be something large like that, guys, we've moved mountains. We've knocked down mountains to make quarries. We've done all these other things to do those things. So yeah, while it's not impossible, it's not feasible for a searcher to completely remove a mountain or something. So is it possible the blaze is something larger than we assume? And what if it's much further away from where the treasure chest is? Then would that answer, to how far is the blaze from the treasure chest be obvious? Because if it's miles away and we're supposed to be there where it is that not obvious? We're obviously not going to move from where we're at and go way miles away to where the potential blaze is. So I that's how my mind works in thinking through these things. That is that possible? You guys are talking away in there. Okay, Delkin, you could be right. The blaze may not be a physical thing. It may be a metaphysical thing. I personally don't think that way, but it could be. There's a lot of talk on the blaze, folks. Yeah, again, why it's not physical to remove the blaze, it isn't feasible to try. I think there's a lot of people out there, and there's been some talk here recently about people, removing the blaze, and moving it, because it could weigh 40 pounds or something. Who's to say that's wrong? I personally don't think that's the case, but okay. Steve Gahagan, I see your question. Flip side, what if it's smaller than we assume? So it's not feasible to remove. There's no need. Sure, I get what you're saying. There's no need to remove it. Okay, yeah, possibly. So I mean that would be different than a mark on a tree or a mark on a rock, where sure it would be feasible to remove that, and somebody could remove it because they didn't like it or they didn't want somebody else to find the treasure or whatever else. But why would you do it at that point if it was really just a mark on a tree and you look down and there's the treasure? Why would you need to remove it? Just take the treasure and go in peace, right? You wouldn't need to remove it. Jeremy, I see what you're saying. I think it's important to take that remove the blaze comment in context. A news story at the time was that someone removed a small twig-like tree thinking it was a blaze. Yeah, I think, Jeremy, you're right. We got to take in context, Forrest Fenn, I think in that whole comment where he said, it's not impossible to remove the blaze, but not feasible. He was talking about a private conversation he had with a recent searcher that visited him, and there was some miscommunications about what the blaze could be. So Forrest Fenn was just trying to clarify, not only to that searcher, but to everybody, and kind of like the whole, warm water's halt is not a dam, where he was telling some kind of private information to some people, and then he want to clarify that to everybody. Yeah, you're right, Jeremy. We need to understand the whole context of that. But I think we've got to take everything into consideration, about the blaze and all the different comments we've had. Again, I'm a poem purist, guys. I still pay attention to all the after the fact comments and stuff, because I think they are kind of that, the checks and balances and the ballast that help keep us focused, on the right path. But I'm going to move on, guys. Got hit on that one enough. Next one I'm going to talk about is on July 31st. The title of this Q&A was, the first clue is where warm waters halt. And the question was, Mr. Fenn, does the first stanza in your poem reveal where searchers are supposed to begin when looking for where warm waters halt? Or are we only supposed to pay attention to where warm waters halt and one day say, why didn't I think of that? When the true solve is revealed. Thanks, Indiana Joni. And I think this kind of tailors back to a lot of people believe that the first stanza may point to, the general area where warm waters halt resides within, or what you believe where warm waters halt resides within. And Forrest Fenn's response was, Joni, the first clue in my poem is where warm waters halt. I have said that several times over the years. If you cannot find that location, you cannot find the treasure. Good luck, and please stay safe in the mountains. Again, he kind of, I don't think he really gives us an answer on that. He's just saying the first clue is begin it where warm waters halt. If you can't find that location, he is saying that is a specific location. So it's almost like, in my mind, again, I'm a 9 clues, 9 sentences guy. I believe that whole first clue is that whole first sentence, in that second stanza, that first stanza is really kind of an introduction. It's not giving us the, in my opinion, the correct starting area that begin at warm waters halt, or your interpretation of what warm waters halt is, resides within. I think that whole first clue is, independent on its own. And I think he's kind of, in my opinion, and how I read that, and this is just my interpretation of that, is if you cannot find that location, I'm good, then, you might as well stay home and play canasta. And I think that's, him stating that. I have said several times that over the years that if you cannot find that location, again, begin it where warm waters halt, then, you can't find the treasure. And that's basically what he's saying. Now, moving right along to August 13th, this was the one that was titled Direct Route. And the question was, Dear Mr. Fenn, once you hid the treasure, did you take the exact same route in reverse to return to your car? Thank you, Tyler Y. And Forrest Fenn's response was, yes, I did, Tyler. It was the most route. So this whole Q&A stood out to me because, if Forrest Fenn has said, to answer some questions and save others from being asked, I did follow the clues in the poem when I hid the treasure, but I hid the treasure before the poem was complete or completed. And Forrest Fenn is saying, I did follow the clues in the poem when I hid the treasure. So if he's following, as in one foot in front of the next, he is following those clues to get from, we assume, where he parked his car to where he hid the treasure. And that now he's turning around and telling us, yes, he did follow the exact same route back after he hid the treasure. So, and he's also kind of said, that's the only route that he knows of in some other Q&As. I don't have them here. So it's kind of like, he is confirming that there's only one way to go, in and out. It's the most direct route. And in how my mind works and going through this, it harkens back to my whole question that I asked at the beginning of the season about the whole water crossing. Was this the most direct route that you take, to get from where you parked your car to where, the treasure is, or is there other routes that you can take that may avoid a water crossing. But Forrest Fenn is turned around and saying, no, it's the most direct route, that he took because, he's 79 or 80. He can't carry 20 pounds going 6 miles. He's got to take the most direct route. And, that's the only way that you can go. So I kind of look at that and I say, okay, he did take the exact same route from where he parked his car to where he hid the treasure, and he took that exact same route back. And he did follow the clues when he hid the treasure, like he said. So again, this is just how I read it. You may not agree with it. This is one of the Q&As that stood out to me. Cheers. Okay, now this is going to move on to the ninth, featured Q&A that really stood out to me. And this came out October 3rd. And this one was titled Special Spot. And the question was, hi, Mr. Fenn. Do you still hope to return to the spot someday and make the boldest move you ever made? If you can't physically return to the spot, would you want your ashes scattered there? Alan K. And I think Alan, he's in the room tonight. So Alan, I believe this was your question. You can tell us whether this is your question or not. But Iron, I do see your question, and then I'll get to you in a second here. But Forrest Fenn's response was, yes, Alan K. But in order for me in order for that to happen, I would have to tell someone where the spot is, and that won't happen. But I'm still thinking. Again, he's saying, if this is the boldest move he ever wants to make and he wants to make it happen, then he'd have to tell somebody. Because, again, like Forrest Fenn has said, he's not physically capable of making that trip any longer. So the only way he's going to make that trip happen is he would have to tell somebody. If he's going to tell anybody, it would probably be Shiloh. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to tell anybody where that spot is. But he says he's still thinking. So it makes me wonder, really, does Forrest Fenn want his ashes spread in that spot? Is that spot so special to him that is he hoping or anticipating that someone really is going to solve this thing and return their bracelet to him? And Forrest Fenn, and this is just my whimsical mind thinking, is Forrest Fenn, wanting that person to then really take his ashes there and not share that spot with anybody because it really is that special to him that he wants his ashes there. So if somebody does find it before he passes, then that is the person who is going to, make that journey happen. I don't know. That's just kind of how my whimsical mind thinks and goes along that. But again, he's saying he's not going to share that spot with anybody. He's still thinking because maybe he is hopeful that somebody is going to find this thing. So, and I'm going to go back over here to Iron's question. I did see that pop up here. Iron Will, good to see you in here. But Iron says he did follow the clues, but he did not say if he followed all of the clues. In fact, he said the poem had not been completed. Yeah, I agree with you. He said he did follow the clues in the poem when he hid the treasure, but he hid the treasure before the poem was complete. And I'm going to harken back to a video that David DeCall and I did, back on July 5th of this year called The Structure of the Poem. And we did talk specifically about that response from Forrest, where he had said, I did follow the clues in the poem before I hid the treasure, although I hid the treasure before the poem was complete. So it lends you to believe that there was some parts of the poem that were known or written prior to Forrest Fenn hiding the treasure. And I firmly believe, as a 9 clues, 9 sentences guy, that those directional clues within the poem exist solely within stanzas 2, 3, and 4. And those are the clues that Forrest Fenn did follow when he hid the treasure, because those are the things that, since he knew exactly where he wanted to hide the treasure, it was very easy for him to not have to look at a map or do anything else. He knew exactly where he wanted to hide it. So those things were already written. Now, when he returns back from hiding it, and he knew the general area where he wanted to hide it. He knew, I say exact spot, I mean, it could have been, a 200, foot circle where he knew he wanted to hide it based on whatever circumstances, but he didn't know the exact precise spot. So he goes out there, he takes the, like we said, I think he has said that he's went in there with the gold first, went back to the car, grabbed the treasure chest, came back. So he kind of put that all in the exact spot, figured out where exactly he wanted to put it. So when he comes back after hiding it, now he can, write the rest of the poem. And I personally believe those are stanzas 1, 5, and 6 that he wrote afterwards based on the tense nature of those things. Again, go watch the structure of the poem video and we talk about that. So he writes those things afterwards. And those are the clues that I still believe they are clues, but they may not be clues that get us physically closer to the treasure, and they are still clues. You can call them hints or whatever you want to call them, but there are things that he had to write afterwards that kind of focus our attention and what we have to do to either decipher the poem or to find the exact spot. You know, if you knew the general location, again, those clues in stanzas 1, 5, and 6 could be those clues that narrow us down to focus on the precise exact spot of where the treasure is, or things that confirm prior clues. You want to call those hints? I'm okay with that. You can call them whatever you want. Again, it doesn't matter if you think that there's 166 clues in the poem or 9 or whatever else. If you can understand the poem as an entirety and circumstance yourself to the treasure, who really cares? And who are we to question the eventual finder, what those clues were or hints were or anything else? We won't be able to question that person. Good question, Iron. I like your statement. I'm getting off here. So that kind of wraps up, me talking about, the 28 various Q&As that we received throughout the year. I really kind of focused on the 9 that really stood out to me. There may be other ones in those 28 that really stood out to you. If you want to make a video on those and talk about those, by all means, I'd love to hear your opinions on those too. These are just mine. I'm not an authority on the chase, so I just want to talk about those that really stood out to me. So I'm going to take a quick intermission. I'm going to go use the men's room real quick, and I'll be right back, guys. Chat amongst yourselves. I'm back. What are you guys drinking today? You guys enjoying your afternoon? Angelo Probletta. I don't know who that from. At Sean. Could Forrest Fenn have camouflaged the path or trail after he hid the chest? I think he camouflaged it pretty well by putting that poem together. I mean, it's been 9 years. I mean, I think Mother Nature's done a pretty good job of hiding that path herself. Hey, Susie, RFHecky, good to see you in here. All right, so let me get back on topic here. The next thing I want to move into, guys, I want to really talk about the scrapbooks that came out on Dal Neitzel's site. I say Dale half the time. I do all the time. We're an hour into this, guys, way behind where I really wanted to be. So I'm going to just keep going. Again, guys, I told you guys this could be a long show. I'm trying to capture everything. It's not easy to do it all. So next I want to talk about the scrapbooks, and we all know these come out on Dal Neitzel's website. We did have 11 of them this year. They started out with scrapbook 186 and went all the way through scrapbook 196. And there was only really one of them that really, but I'm just going to briefly go over each one of them. Scrapbook 186 was about Michael Goolsby, which was a friend of Forrest Fenn's going back to high school. It was the whole, jump the milk truck story that Forrest Fenn had talked about. We had Scrapbook 187, which was a visit from a searcher family. And this was going back a couple years ago, where this was the gentleman that was stuck back in Montana that Forrest Fenn had talked about. I think it was the 2016 end of the year roundup, where they said he was, ganging up on his message machine because this gentleman was missing, and Forrest Fenn contacted his friends to help save this guy. So Scrapbook 187 was about this searcher family who visited with him. Scrapbook 188 was obviously the Dizzy Dean story, and I'll talk more about that one. Scrapbook 189 was a story about a cast bronze horse that a gentleman had said many years ago he had met Forrest Fenn, and Forrest Fenn had told him to put something together in wax, and he would cast it for him, and the boy had made a bronze horse, and that was that whole scrapbook. Scrapbook 190 was about Forrest and Eric's escapades. Kind of a funny story about some of the escapades that Forrest Fenn and Eric Sloan had together. Great one if you haven't read it. Scrapbook 191 was George and Me, was about George Montgomery and his whole fear of flying. So a fun scrapbook there. Scrapbook 192 was a PS or a postscript from a Jeff Olson, and about Jeff Olson talking to his father and giving his father Forrest Fenn's book, The Thrill of the Chase, which inspired Jeff's father to write his own memoir. Well, I thought was a great thing for Jeff and his family. I think that's awesome. I think we'd love to have all of our grandparents or great grandparents, put together some kind of, memoir. I mean, if you're a grandparent, great grandparent, put a memoir together for your grandkids. I think that's an awesome idea. My wife's great grandparents, her pa put together basically a whole bunch of stories, kind of like a memoir. And one day I stumbled upon it and at her parents' house and read it, and I thought it was awesome, just being able to. And I was one of the few in her family that actually read that thing, and I thought it was awesome. Some of the stories that her pa had told about him growing up. So I inspire, I would ask all of you to do the same thing. I think it's pretty amazing to read some of those stories from, our family members. Scrapbook 193 was from our good friend RC, who's actually in the chat room today, Rooster Cogburn, who is Forrest Fenn's BFF, or they're besties apparently. There's a little bit about his search story or her search story. I don't know if he's a male or female, maybe. And a little, map and stuff they put together. So go read Scrapbook 193. Scrapbook 194 was kind of Forrest Fenn shutting down the search season, the entire search season for all searchers. 195 was the whole Baby It's Cold Outside with Barry Manilow and Suzanne Summers and, the whole Me Too movement and everything else. And then 196, which is our last one we received on December 20th of last year, which was, Forrest Fenn commemorating 50-year anniversary of him being shot down and spending the night out in the Laotian jungle. So that kind of wrapped up pretty much all the scrapbooks. But the one I really that really caught my attention, and I would assume most of yours, and caused a huge, debate throughout the search community, was the whole Dizzy Dean story. And the whole Dizzy Dean story was about Forrest relating a story back in, I can't remember exactly what year, in the 50s or something, about him, meeting Dizzy Dean, who was this whole commentator. I think it was at a baseball game or something. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting that. But in that, at the very end of the story, he says, I went back and removed all the commas out of, the whole story. And it caused this whole debate about, punctuation and does it really matter in the whole poem or in anything out there. And then we actually got a clarification from Forrest Fenn over on Thor, where, K-Pro had written a couple of questions to Forrest, and there was two different ones, one about the semicolon and one about punctuation. But the one that K-Pro had wrote him was, does punctuation have significance in solving a poem? If so, what? And Forrest Fenn's response was no. And there was a long heated debate back and forth about, okay, Forrest Fenn is saying that punctuation is completely irrelevant in solving the poem. And there are those like myself as a poem purist that believe that the punctuation is important because I believe, it does give us context and meaning of the words in the poem. And my whole debate is, if we're not supposed to mess with the poem and he has written that thing, and it took him 15 years to write that and put it together, punctuation is important. He specifically put it in there. If it wasn't important, he never would have put it in there. Is it important in solving the poem? Well, that's a whole different story. There's two different ways in which you can read the question. Forrest Fenn is the master of wordsmithing and I hate to say misleading or whatever, but he leaves it up to us. And I've talked a lot about, is this him culling the field? Is he trying to separate the wheat from the chaff? Is he trying to separate those who are just, flying by the seat of the pants and those people that are really thinking and analyzing? I don't know. I can't prove that punctuation is important any more than anybody else can prove that it's not important until we find the treasure and somebody comes out and says, oh my God, that semicolon or that colon here or that comma made it, important to me. Who are we to question that person when they do? Rodney, I see your question on it really quick. Baby, It's Cold Outside came under a lot of, sorry, your question just went up there. Missed it. Where'd you go? Rodney Greenway says, at the flip side, Baby, It's Cold Outside came under a lot of fire last year. Yeah, I mean, there's the whole, we give somebody an inch and they become a ruler. Forrest Fenn talks about that in the whole Totem Caper Cafe. I think we give people enough, I don't want to get on the political soapbox here, but I'm not even going to go there. It came under a lot of fire. And really, there's a lot worse music out there that can come under a lot of fire. My wife has said this. We've got rap songs out there that talk about, negative things out there, but we're not throwing them under fire. Why are we going to throw a 60, 70-year-old song under fire because we think it's about a man propositioning a woman? Geez. There's a lot more things that we could focus our attention on, guys. We all take ourselves way too seriously. But yes, it did come under a lot of fire. You're absolutely right. I did see another question in here from Brad Kinsner. At the flip side, punctuation doesn't matter, but it could mean something in figuring out what the intent of meaning of words. Yeah, I don't think, a comma in itself or an apostrophe in itself or a semicolon in itself is not a clue. I agree with everybody. But it does, as Brad is saying, does give to the context and meaning of words. And if Forrest Fenn has been very specific about saying, I felt like an architect drawing that poem. I looked up the meaning of the words. We really don't know what our words mean, and sometimes we use them erroneously. The man spent 15 years putting this thing together. He was very cautious about, putting it together. Like he says, although I changed the poem a few times over the years to get the wording exactly right, and I'm completely paraphrasing different comments and together here, that he took those words very seriously. And, punctuation does give us the context of meaning of words. They're not a clue in themselves, and this is, again, just my opinion, but they do give us context in there. And again, if it wasn't important and Forrest Fenn didn't think it was important to put a comma in there, then he never would have put it there. And there's many forms of different poetry and everything else out there that does use punctuation to give the context and more emphasis on the poet's words. So I do think it's important. Do I think it's important in solving the poem? Maybe not. I don't have the treasure. I don't know for sure. It's just my beliefs. I'm not an authority on the chase. People can make their own thing. But it definitely was one of the big debates throughout the whole chase community this year. So enough on that. I think, what's very interesting to note is that we do have the revised issue of Once Upon a While that came out this year. We all know about that. It came out last year, and Toby Eunice asked a great question. Rodney, I see your question. Toby Eunice asked an amazing, great question in that whole Once Upon a While book signing. And his question was, and you can go back and you can watch this. It was towards the end of the video, but Toby asked, Forrest Fenn, out of the 200 some odd scrapbooks, and I think at the time we had 190 or somewhere at that point. Cheers. Scrapbooks out there. Toby asked, how did you choose the ones to put into your book? And Forrest had responded, originally had 40 stories that I wanted in there, but I took one of them out. And the one that he took out, and he admits to, was being the one that talked about his writing style. Now, if we go back and we look through all the scrapbooks that we had at that time, prior to November of that time, the only scrapbook that really talked about his writing style that I recall was scrapbook 179, in which, he did even mention in there, people, often criticize him for the, his use of punctuation, his tense nature of his words, blah, 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 everything else. But he took that one out for whatever reason. Why would he even admit to us and why he took that one out? And then why would he completely turn around, months later, almost a year later, reissue Once Upon a While, and then, throw in there the whole Dizzy Dean story, which he talks about removing the commas out of there. Is Forrest Fenn trying to make a point? Is Forrest Fenn trying to make a point to make fun of us who believe punctuation is important? Sure, that's one way to look at it. The flip side of that is that he's trying to emphasize the point of, listen, punctuation, I put it in there for a reason. It is important. It may not be important in solving it, but it's there for a reason. I don't know, guys. I'm the flip side. I'm a poem purist. So, of course, I'm very, confirmation bias, sided with punctuation is important. You may not be, and that's okay. I don't have the treasure, neither do you. We're all kind of, trying to figure this thing out together. But again, that's, I thought that whole scrapbook 188 was important. I would imagine that most of you probably believe it's important if you felt enough to, put it back into the, the Once Upon a Pile re-release. And I think, Illinois Ghost and Jason Dent did an excellent video on comparing both of the, the original version and the revised edition. If you haven't watched their video, go back and watch it. They did an excellent job of having, one had one and one had the other and going over that. Definitely props to them. If you haven't watched that video, definitely go watch it. Great video. I did talk about that. And then we did have, we did have a new Forrest Fenn Gets Mail, which was Forrest Fenn Gets Mail 17 this year, which was kind of an odd one. Forrest Fenn was questioned by some students whether or not he, in his time in Texas or in his time in Wyoming, ever had any, cattle herding or ranching experience. And he goes in to talk about Jay Everett's Haley, a good friend of his, and about some ranching time that he did spend. I don't know if it's a true story or not, but, Forrest Fenn Got Mail 17, I think that came out in April of last year, was the one Forrest Fenn Got Mail that we got over in Dal Neitzel's. So again, guys, I've covered the 11 scrapbooks that came out. I focused on the one that I thought was probably the most important out of all the scrapbooks that came out. Doesn't mean it is the most important. It was one that really stood out to me. So now I'm gonna transition over. We've already been here an hour, guys. I'm way behind the schedule I really wanted to be on. I'm gonna catch up some of you guys and say hi to you. Good looking honky. There's that guy again. Love that name. That's funny. Dev JV, good to see you. All pain, no gain. How are you doing? The thrill of the Kool-Aid. Yeah. A lot of us are drinking the Kool-Aid. Who knows? Go back up here. Say hi to some of you guys. Rodney, what was your question here? Rodney says, somebody asked what dictionary he used, and he said none. He also said in an interview that he looked up each word in the poem to see how they... Yeah, I think he said, he no longer uses a dictionary. He just types word into Google, is what he kind of said. Yeah, we're all kind of doing that, right? I mean, we're all past encyclopedias, and we all just want answers. Again, I caution people to not just Google something and look up the most popular answer. Check 2 or 3 different answers. And again, there's 3 sides to every story, or like my friend DeCall Thomas says, there's 3 sides to every coin. There's the heads, tails, and there's the rim. You've got to think for yourself. You've got to get mixed opinions and to make your decision what you think is best. I mean, we're on information overload these days, guys. It wasn't so easy just to go read the Encyclopedia Britannica, which we thought was the truth. Now we've got so many different versions of the truth out there. It's crazy. Merriam-Webster, yeah. Britt, I'm sure that's what you guys have. All right, guys, so I'm going to transition. I got to move some of my notes over here. I'm going to go over some of the articles, and we had 11 different articles that came out this year. I think Forrest Fenn alluded there was going to be 2 major ones that came out. We'll talk about those, but we had 11 different publications, either in print or in media, that came out this year. And I'm not gonna go into detail on each and every one of them because some of them were kind of repetitive. But the first one we got that came out last year was the Amtrak article, which was entitled, Inside the Epic Search for Forrest Fenn's Gold. And this one, we had a couple of searchers that were really kind of highlighted in this, and that was Diggin' Gypsy, Cynthia Meacham, and Dal Neitzel. And there was others that weren't as prominent of those few, but other searchers were highlighted in there. But there was a couple of comments that came out of that kind of stood out and caused a lot of friction and a lot of debate within the chase community. One that came from Diggin' Gypsy was her quote was, "There are a lot of," and these are quotes that I don't know if they were exactly from Diggin' or if the writer took some liberties and twisting these things up. But Diggin' Gypsy had said, "There's a lot of backstabbers and gossipers and jealous women in this community." And we've all kind of seen that. I mean, we all, there's a lot of drama going on in this chase, and there's a lot of, behind the scenes, talk amongst searchers, and we see those things come out on the forums. We sometimes see them come out on the Fenntube channels and everything else. Particularly here, we know that we're the non-PC beer drinking, thrill of the chase talking show. Pretty much anything goes. This year, we're going to tighten that up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, coming from Diggin', that's one of her things. And then she had also said, "My sisters and daughters were brave Viking women. Nothing scares us anymore." We all kind of know where that kind of comes from. But yeah, that was the first real kind of article that we had come out that year, and it was the Amtrak article, which we know brought probably a lot of new searchers into this community. I don't know if any of you in the chat room tonight really that was your first introduction to the chase. So maybe some of you can tell us. And again, guys, these links to these articles are in the description down below. There was probably some stuff that you picked out of those different articles that stood out to you more. These are just some fun things that I saw that caused a lot of stir in the community. And again, I'm no authority on the chase. I'm not an expert. These are things that I just saw. And on the 18th of April, we had a CNBC article came out, and it was really just kind of a cut and paste of a lot of previous information. I want to go in detail on that one because I thought it was just a lot of people just, cut and paste and stuff that we'd already knew. And on the 14th, we had a kind of a blog called Stories from the Wild that did a brief blog on the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt. And it included a kind of a personal email response from Forrest Fenn, that was really good. So I highly suggest if you guys haven't gone and seen that one, go in the link below and find that one and read it. There was a really interesting comment from Forrest Fenn about the chase in there. And on the 13th of June, we did get an article from the Santa Fe Reporter. And in that article, there was something really key that I think Forrest Fenn had said. I'll have another one. Yeah. And that was, I've got a feeling that the person who finds it is not going to tell anybody. There are a lot of problems if somebody knows that you found a treasure chest. And I thought that was really interesting that Forrest Fenn is coming out and saying that, I've got a feeling that the person who finds this is not going to tell anybody. Because isn't that kind of counterintuitive of what he kind of told us back in 2013, where he said, it's my belief that a person who's going to find the treasure chest is a person who's not going to be able to keep it quiet. So what's happened over the last 5 years that Forrest Fenn has now turned around and said, holy crap, I think the person who's going to find this, the person that's going to find this is not going to say anything. Is it this whole 7%er, these crazies, these people that are breaking into his compound with an axe and everything else that he feels that now this person's really not going to say anything? I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel that way. I've got a family. I've got 3 kids and a wife and everything else to protect. If David and I found the treasure, David's got his family, his wife and his son, David, and his extended family. We want to protect them. I don't want some crazies knocking on my door and being mad because I haven't told them where the treasure chest is located. So, yeah, I mean, I think, does that play into part of that? I mean, it was very telling by Forrest Fenn to, after 5 years later, him to say, it's my feeling they're not going to tell anybody. There's a lot of problems with that. Again, like you said, the IRS is just one of them. We're not talking about even those 7%ers that, that, are crazy. Some people think I'm a 7%er, maybe. Okay, and then on June 25th, we got this was another internet web-based publication called Direct Expose, and it was really, again, kind of like the CNBC one. It was kind of a cut and paste. Nothing really new came out of that, or nothing earth-shattering. No quotes from Forrest and or anything. It was just, again, previous knowledge. But if you haven't seen that, again, the link is down below for you guys to find. So Chris Yates, I'm 10%. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. I'm almost there. I'm almost crazy, right? I think once you get into your 5th year of chasing, then you automatically move into a 7%er. Not quite there yet. This is my 4th year. But Chris, good to see you in here, brother. So I'm going to move on. Then the next publication came out on the 27th of June, and this was from an online publication called the Daily Mail. And this really centered around, the Fenntubers of 2018, that was put on by Connie Wilmoth. Again, some great props to Connie for all the effort that she put in to organize this thing. I think, a lot of those that have previously put in efforts on trying to organize this will definitely agree that it takes a lot of effort to put some kind of event like that together. So big props to Connie again. But, this, I thought it was a great article because it really talked about a lot of different searchers and focused around, their efforts and where they were looking, and highlighted a lot of different searchers that we don't, we always, no offense, but we always see Dale, we always see Cynthia, we see Sasha, we see a few others that are the common searches we see. But this one kind of really focused around some of the searchers we don't normally see. So I thought that was kind of great. But Forrest Fenn did say something in there where he said, be prepared, take water, take some food, take a GPS. And then he said, I'm not sure that a map and a compass would help you much, but people take those things. And I thought, him saying, I'm not sure a map and a compass would help, but hasn't he told us we've got to marry the clues to a map? So is he just assuming that there's no reason to take a map when we physically go search because we should have already married the clues? Does this go back to his whole belief that rocking chair ideas will lead one to the first few clues, but a physical presence is needed to complete the solve? So is there that line that once you already understand the general area you're going into and where you're going, that you no longer need the map when you go search? I don't know. There's this I'm kind of back and forth on this. He's telling us here in this one, that we don't need to take a map with us, but a GPS would be handy. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to talk about. And these are things that I see. Maybe some of you guys have picked up on these things. I don't know. Maybe you're like, holy cow, I didn't know that. But just something to think about. But we're supposed to marry these clues to a map. Why would we not take a map when we go searching? We already know the general location. We don't need the map anymore. Something to think about. And then I think he said in this was the one article where he said, if there's been some violence like fist fights or somebody's murdered or something, that's the end of it. It's like, oh God, Forrest, why would you even say that now? Somebody wants to go get in a fight just so we can end this. I mean, we've got enough fights on the internet and Fenntube. Now we're going to go to Fenntubers and somebody's worried about getting a fist fight, or they're going to start a fist fight just so we can start this thing. Mitzi, how are you? Mark Connor, good to see you in here. Yeah, Jason didn't give out a really nice compass, a military lensatic compass in one of his Fenntube shows. I don't have a compass. I mean, I've got a pretty good idea of bearing and which direction is which. I don't take a compass when I go searching. I don't even take a map when I go searching. I mean, I've already figured out the general area where I'm at, or David and I are searching. I don't need to take a map when I go with me. I mean, at that point, when I believe when you already have the general area figured out, you don't need to take a map with you when you go. I mean, wasn't it, I think it was K-Pro whose question was answered by Forrest Fenn when she said, for those people who are out there searching, or hiking more than a mile, you're wrong. If you're going more than a mile from where you park your car, do you really need a map? I mean, maybe some people do. Maybe some of you guys from the East Coast or the West Coast have never been in the mountains. I mean, I'm from the West Coast and I'm used to the Sierra Nevadas, and I spent a lot of time up there. But some of you that have never really been in the mountains, maybe you need a map to figure out where you're going. I don't know. I mean, if I'm only walking a mile, I think I know which way to get back to my car, I don't know. If you're walking or hiking miles and miles, maybe you do need a map and a compass to figure out where you're going. Now, the next article that came out was July 2nd. It was from The Guardian. And this was the whole quote unquote pink gun, article with Sasha Johnson, our good friend Sasha. But and then it kind of went into the whole cult of Forrest Fenn. But it really kind of featured Sasha Johnson and Cynthia Meacham, our good friend Cynthia. But it went into this whole cult of Fenn and really kind of pointing out, some things that were, I felt, and I think Dal Neitzel also kind of put out a rebuttal and a response to this on his site. And I talked about this on the whole structure of, the poem video back on 5th July. And I read this, verbatim, where, Dal Neitzel kind of gave his rebuttal and kind of flamed the Guardian a little bit as being a very salacious, media in some way. And you can think whatever you want, but I think that the Guardian did not do a good job of talking about us searchers. Now it's something we all have got to take seriously, that there is a lot of how do I quote that? There could be some people that you would say are a cult of Fenn, those people that bow down and worship at the altar of Fenn. I get that. There's a lot of people that don't question some of the things. Now, that goes to the extreme, in my opinion, about where you're calling him nasty names or accusing him of very derogatory things. But at the same time, I think you should question him and be an objective person. Forrest Fenn doesn't pay our bills. Forrest Fenn doesn't pay my bills. That leads me to believe I'm a free thinker. I'm going to question him no different than I'm going to question Mike Cowlings, K-Pro, tons of other people that are out there. I'm always going to question people. And that includes Forrest Fenn, but this whole cult of the thing, I don't know well to a lot of people. Again, guys, the links to these, excuse me, our articles are down below. Why am I getting cough all of a sudden? I'm getting sick. So the next one that came out was July 26th, and this was a Wired article. And this one really focused around Paul Ashby. And Paul Ashby, if you don't know, is the father of Eric Ashby, who we lost back on the Arkansas River down by, I think it was down by, or was it Pueblo or somewhere down there on the Arkansas River, who Eric was in. And there's a lot of controversy about this. We lost Eric in the water, navigation in a raft or something. But this really talked about, Paul and his search for trying to find his son and the whole backstory on that. But there was a couple of things that Forrest Fenn had said in there, and also, had Cynthia Meacham in there. I think she was quoted and talked about it in the article as well. But this is the one that also said, Forrest Fenn had quoted that there was a recent searcher within 200 feet of the treasure. And then, K-Pro did get a clarification from Forrest Fenn that, that the editor or the writer in there misquoted him, that this wasn't really talking about a recent searcher, that this was talking about, the original 200-footer or the several 200-footers. And, that's a whole debate in itself. But there was one quote that came out from Forrest Fenn that I thought that was very interesting that came out of an article. And that was, there is no reason for anyone to use the internet or social media when going to search for the treasure. All they need is a map, a plan, good health, and a buddy to go along for safety reasons. So again, here we go back to, there's no specialized knowledge. You don't need any historical references. You don't need any local geography knowledge or anything like that. And I'm quoting those, paraphrasing me off the cuff, so don't flame me for that. But there is some references to Forrest Fenn saying that. He's saying you don't need the internet or social media. All you need is a map, a plan, good health, and a buddy. But this whole buddy thing kind of, contradicts him saying, if you have a search partner, have them wait in the car. I think Forrest Fenn, again, much like he's told us, the person who's going to find this treasure chest is the one who can best adjust. I think Forrest Fenn, even after 9 years going through this whole thing and deaths and those things happening, he's even had to adjust what he's had to say. You could say that's for a legal reason. He's trying to cover his ass or do whatever he can. But, he's adjusting too. He wants you to bring somebody for safety reasons or whatever. A lot of us search alone. We don't take buddies with us because we don't have a search partner, or, like Bill Gorman takes Jack with him. Jack is his buddy. A lot of people have dogs. Molly with Cynthia, that's her search buddy, so to speak. But, he's telling us we need a map and a plan. But then, he's told us before, some people take a map, but I don't think you need those things. It's like, man, these all over the place. I mean, there's been plenty of threads about all the different contradictions that Forrest Fenn has said. And that's why I think, a lot of this stuff that's outside of the poem and the book is so subjective. And we just need to focus on, the poem and the book. Again, I'm more poem focused in the book, but I think that the book can be helpful. I just think it can be also a hindrance in some ways too, guys. Now I'm going to move on to on August 4th, we got an article from the Santa Fe New Mexican, which this one really focused around Scott Conway. And the next few articles from August 4th all the way to the last article we got November 23rd from the Huffington Post really geez, am I losing my voice? Really focused around Scott Conway. And I hate to say the hole from hell, but but you had the Santa Fe New Mexican, the Esquire article, and the Huffington Post article. All three articles really jumped on that hole, Scott Conway, deal with him digging that hole out in up in the Jemez Mountains. And there was one quote that came from the Esquire article, and that was, let me see if I got this right. And this was the one key thing that I think a lot of people focused on. This again came out of the Esquire article, and this is one that had the pic of the shovel, in the headlines, and I don't know if that was a play on things. And there was a lot of debate about that. But Forrest Fenn said in this, he scans them, and this is talking about the hundreds of emails Forrest Fenn gets. But he said he scans them for 2 or 3 key words, which he says has happened 3 times. 3 people have said keywords. I never heard from them again, but they haven't found the treasure. So, Forrest Fenn is saying that he scans a lot of these emails, and we know from previous comments. I think it was going back to the yearly roundup from 2016, where Forrest Fenn says he doesn't read most of the long emails, but he does scan them for keywords. So if he's saying he scans a lot of these emails for keywords, what are those keywords he's searching for? And we're all wrapped around this whole thing that only a few are in tight focus with the word that is key. If that word is in fact, a word from the actual poem itself, then wouldn't every single one of these thousands of emails that people are sending him have those words that are potentially key in them? So to me, and I think, even Mike Cowling's hit on this, that key word that he's searching for, or those keywords that he's searching for, may be in relationship to the correct general solve or the correct general location that we think the treasure chest is located in. Because it definitely shouldn't be centered around, riches new and old, or, where warm waters halt, because just about every one of these emails, that a good majority of them that get sent to Forrest Fenn, are probably revolving around those words. So is it a word that's specifically out of the poem, or is it specifically about a geographical location? So that's, something that I really took out of that, that Esquire article. Let me see where I want to head off from here. So we've talked about the Q&As. We've talked about the scrapbooks. I've obviously hit on, the 11 major articles, and we're going on an hour and a half here, guys. So I really want to kind of now I want to tailor a little bit more. And this is the part, if you don't want to hear more about the flip side or me and this channel and what we've done this year, then just shut it off and you can move on. But I want to talk a little bit about the flip side, this past year, where we're going, in the future, and some key things. And I talked about some awards and stuff as well. But let me just get my bearings here real quick. Got a lot of notes here, guys. So yeah, I had said kind of on Toby's channel, back in March of last year when I first came on Toby's channel, that I really kind of started the flip side. It was really called the Dirt Road Diary to start off with, but then I'd always told people, when I was going searching, I would say I'm going dark and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. And that was when I was going searching. So I kind of transitioned the name to the flip side. And, I think it was March of last year after a couple of videos I had put out. But where was I going with that? We've had a lot of fun over here on the last year with the flip side. We've had a lot of, I like to call guests and stuff on the show. But the show and what really started, the flip side and doing some of the shows with the channel was really conversations I was having with, DeCall Thomas, who's a good friend of mine, about, Toby's show was really kind of about, really focusing on specific contents and those types of things. But what DeCall and I were talking about doing with the flip side was just having that, the flip side of the conversation and having that back and forth, and that this person's opinion and that person's opinion, and kind of butting heads a little bit and having some confrontations and good discussions, because it's no fun if you have everybody on the channel that's, all bobbleheading and we're all the same view. So it was good to have, the imaginative side of DeCall Thomas, and and kind of, I like to call myself more the poem purist, the logical side of the poem, and that made for what I think was good discussion. But we had some great, different panel members and guests on the show, and again, it was good to have, again, like what Toby was doing, and Fenn Treasure Hunter and other Rodney Greenway and other people were doing on their shows, was to bring other searchers in there, so you got to know those people. It wasn't just somebody on a forum that you didn't really get to know them or see them face to face and really get to know them as a person. But on the flip side, we had a lot of great people on there. We had Shannon Oots, which was one of the original members of the, the After Hours party. It was great getting her perspective on there and having fun. We were just having a good time, having some beers, non-PC, bullshitting, and talking about the show. We had a good friend, Jason Dent, on the show, Shasa Johnson. We had Rodney Greenway. Right on. Had somebody buy me a beer. That's great. Jen Elephant. No, she's down here somewhere. Somebody. We had Mike Cowlings. We had Calazars on the show. We had Christy, K-Pro on the show. We had Dal Neitzel. Dal Neitzel, everybody sees him, on his forum and on the videos as being this whole stuck-up guy, on his show and venting everybody. But when we had him on the show, you got to know the guy. You got to really know him and learn some key things about his relationship with Forrest. I mean, the whole fact that, of him, especially getting some special place on the Madison River, and you find out, Dal Neitzel just went to some random place. I mean, these things were great to learn about the man and get to know Dal Neitzel, a lot better. I thought it was a lot of fun having him on there. We had Cynthia Meacham, who had probably one of the greatest moments as far as, her drink, pulling out the 1 gallon margarita, I mean, a lot of fun. We had Jeremy Parnell on the show. We had Jeremy as a guest on one of the weekend updates. He also came on the show and we did the whole illustrations and the thrill of the chase, which unfortunately lost that entire video due to my naivety and how to work YouTube. We had Minotaur Marino, Justin, on the show, a great guest, a very intelligent and smart person on here. We had Buddy Allen, the old deer in the headlights look. That was a fun show. We had a lot of fun with that. We had Man in the Barn. We had a lot of great people, and hopefully I'm not missing any of you guys, but we had a lot of great, a lot of fun with the show this year and having people on the show. I'm just, we did some interesting things with the show. We obviously had the weekend updates, which I think a lot of people enjoyed. I'll talk about that in 2019 and looking forward where we're going from there. We did the roundtables, which I know a lot of people enjoyed, as far as, allowing other people, Fenntubers and people that weren't Fenntubers, to come in there and give their, 5-minute or less opinion on certain topics. We did, Fensomnia this year, where we just, kind of jumped in there, a late night show where those of you that can't sleep at night, you got Finn on the brain, come in there. We're going to bullshit about certain topics about the chase. A lot of fun. Goldilocks, what did she say? Flip side, you could call your show Flip the Bird now. We're going to Flip the Bird. But we had a lot of fun. Excuse me, guys. Making sure I keep my my notes going on here. But so I just want to really quick, I know I told you guys in the whole teaser I was going to do some kind of awards about, fun things that happened throughout the year. So I just want to go over a couple of those things. And again, these guys are just, I got a lot of people emailing me on certain things, and I took some of that stuff into consideration. Some of the things I didn't take in consideration because I didn't want to go down those roads. So I just kind of came up with my own stuff. So, these awards are they're just fun. They're not meant mean spirited or anything like that. We're just having fun here, guys. Maybe next year we can do something different. If somebody doesn't find the treasure, we'll do something different. But so these are just my opinion, guys. So I want to say that the biggest cringe-worthy event of 2018, and I know there were several of them. You would go on, David Kramer's Whiskey Waloo. You can go on the Weeble Wobble breaking into Fenn's compound. Toby's Vietnam attack story, Bill Gorman's Double Blazes video, my videos, everything else. But I think that the biggest cringeworthy event that happened through 2018 was Scott Conway's Hole from Hell, guys. I think that was just a whole thing. The whole search community was like, oh, guys, come on. We shouldn't be out there digging some 15-foot hole. No offense, Scott, but I just think that was, to me, the biggest cringeworthy thing in the all year that happened all year. You got a lot of media attention out of it. I think that, you got to go back and reevaluate your whole thing. Just my opinion, guys, doesn't make it right. Okay, now going to the whole funniest moment of 2018, in the whole, and this is kind of the whole Fenntuber thing, I've got unanimously was the whole deer in the headlights look from Buddy Allen. And if you guys aren't familiar with this, I was doing a complete weekend update with Buddy Allen, and right in the middle of it, about 45 minutes or so into the video, I got the blue screen of death from my computer, and Buddy Allen was left there on his own, live with 100 people watching, and he was just like, what do I do? If you guys haven't watched this, it was hilarious. It was funny. Buddy Allen handled it like a gentleman, but it was fun, and we had a great time. It's just one of those things, you never know what's going to happen, and the show must go on. Buddy Allen, great props to you for keeping it going. But a lot of people email me that was one of the funniest moments that they saw on Fenntube. There was a lot of other funny ones. I mean, Teton Trapper's roast of Shelley and roast of, Eric Johnson from It Is What It Is, and Toby. That was a lot of fun. The Journeyers AGK parody of sex was a funny video that was out there. Leroy's kidnap video. I mean, a lot of people said that was funny. And then the whole, flip side pull Willie from the pond moment where none of us could. We were just laughing so hard to tears. I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff that happened this year. But unanimously, everybody had, everybody. I say I got about 10 emails from people saying that the whole Buddy Allen thing was completely hilarious. Cheers, guys. Next, I want to say I want to say the best video of the year. I think the whole YouTube video that came out of the year, I think the best one, in my opinion, was the whole Marshall Moyle documentary. I think that was an amazing, it captured the spirit of the thrill of the chase, and 4 friends going out there and looking for the treasure, and the way he put that together and the time he spent on that, I thought it was a great video. To me, I think that was the best video of the year, that really captured the whole spirit of the thrill of the chase. And if you guys haven't watched that, I haven't put the link in the below, but I'll put it in the link for you guys to find. Those of you guys haven't watched that, I thought that was the best video of the year, in my opinion. Yours may vary, but for me, I thought that was the best video. So I'm going to give that the best video of the year. The best forum of the year, I think by far goes to the Hint of Riches. I think K-Pro's done an amazing job putting that forum together. The amount of contests, the clarifications, just the support of that forum and everything that she's done with that. I think by far, I think that was, the best forum of the year. So bar none, they should get the best forum of the year award. Again, these are just my opinions. I think the most active forum poster by far should go to Seeker over on Dal Neitzel's site. I mean, just about every other post is from Seeker or Jake or JDA or a few others out there. I know I'm forgetting you guys, but I think if you were to go through all the counts and Dal Neitzel, maybe you'll put out your actual count of who had the most posts. But I think it would probably be the most active poster throughout the chase community would be Seeker. Now, the next is what I consider the Iron Man Award for the Thrill of the Chase. And this is, I kind of gave it to two different people, and I'm going to give it to Illinois Ghost, and I'm going to give it to Cal Lazars. I think Illinois Ghost, with the amount of searches and how far he has to drive, and the fact that he's going out there and putting, content out there, not only on his own YouTube channel, but working with, Jason Dent on their channel. I think by far he's putting a lot of time and a lot of effort into his searches, into sharing with the community on his blog and putting out YouTube videos. I think by far he deserves the award. I also want to give it to Mike Cowlings, because I think Mike Cowlings, even though we'll give him a lot of crap because he's never had boots on the ground, the man has put a lot of effort into putting out the coins, the efforts with the World Series of Poker he's putting out this year, the whole amount of effort he's put into the whole, Jamie raffle and going out there. I mean, we give him a hard time about, is he capitalizing on the chase and money? I mean, the guy's put a lot of time and effort into getting those coins out to you guys. If you really did, the amount of money he's made based on the amount of hours he put in, he's got to be well below, minimum wage on trying to put that stuff together, guys. So I think, he deserves a lot of credit in putting that stuff out there. Mike, you got to put some boots on the ground. I know you're going to do it this year. We're excited to hear your story, but I think, between Illinois Ghost and Mike Cowlings, they're the most active Ironman guys out there. They're putting a lot of effort into this. No offense to you women. I'm just saying that, for them, these are the guys that are putting probably the most amount of effort and time and investment into that. And I just want to give those guys some props out there. You may not agree with me. That's okay. It's just my opinion. And I think if you were to come down to the Fenntuber of the year, that the person who I think that had the most impact and putting good content and everything out there would have to by far go to Shannon Oots of the Odious Soul. I think with all the, the challenges and everything she's gone through this year, and that's not the contributing factor, but everything that she's gone through, and then also putting out good content. And she does an amazing job of just, lining things up for you guys in her videos. Does an awesome job. And I thought that was great. And then last but not least, I want to give, award out to the Chaser of the Year. And I think that the Chaser of the Year, by far, the one who probably epitomizes all of the spirit of the thrill of the chase, going out there and being part of that, bar none, goes to Cynthia Meacham. I'm a huge fan of her, so I guess maybe I'm just biased in this. I'm a huge fan of Cynthia Meacham. The amount of effort she's put into some of the articles and talking to people, going out there and searching and doing everything. Again, Chaser's gone wild, putting out her nude photo of her at the Ojo Caliente and Yellowstone. That took a lot to do, and guys, there was this huge debate, apparently on whether they were real or fake. I'm going to have to put my 2 cents in there. I think that they were real nice. So good job, Cynthia. A lot of props to you. Chaser of the Year award, I think, absolutely goes to Cynthia Meacham. So those are, my awards, guys. You guys may not agree. You may think completely different and, want to go on something else. But those are my awards. Next year, we can do something different. Who knows? Adventures of Leroy. Good to see you in here, Leroy. Those are real. I can tell, right? I think they're real. I think they're real nice. It's my opinion. I'm a boob guy. Mitzi, that's going a little too far, Mitzi. Yeah, Alan K. I love Shannon Oots. Friend of mine, obviously one of the original members of the Flipside After Party Show. A little biased, I guess, in that. But I think she's put out some amazing content, done some great videos out there. But, speaking of that, I really want to give some props out to, all the Fenntubers we've had out there. So, guys, I'm going to take a few minutes. I know we're here at, an hour and 50 minutes, and I was trying to keep this to 2 hours. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, guys. But I just want to recognize throughout this year, we had a lot of people that took the time to put a lot of content out there in the YouTube, or I like to call the Fenntube community. And right off the bat, I'm going to talk about Adventures with Leroy. Adventures with Leroy put out 7 videos last year. A lot of fun. It was something different. Whoever is putting this out there, has got a lot of talent and has put, a lot of effort in putting his videos together. A lot of fun. He's just having a good time. It's something different, which is great. And actually, if you guys don't know, Leroy just put out a video today, episode 8. about humility and the chase. So a great video from him, always fun. He's obviously drinking a lot of beer. I love that. So cheers to you, Leroy. See, Leroy, a great addition to the Fenntube community this last year. Next is Shobi, Toby and Shelly from A Gypsy's Kiss. A Gypsy's Kiss, you know, we always said was the grandparents of the chase, as Shannon likes to say. They were the ones that we all looked up to. They put out a lot of great content, still have a lot of great content. They were some of the originators of the YouTube community out there. I like to call them the Tipsy Gypsies. You know, they put out some great stuff. There's still a lot of great content out there from them. They're still doing the Fandango Friday nights where the 800 call in. I think it's great. I watch it. I think it's fun, and they do some great stuff still. Next, I want to talk about Adventure. Adventure put out a lot of great videos. One of his first videos, I know he talked about it, is he gave a coin giveaway when he hit 50 subscribers. And he's now, you know, he's talked about putting some podcasts out, and he says he's also part of putting out a documentary. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing something from Adventure. We had a gentleman named An Average Person who put out a few Fenntube videos out there. I haven't heard anything from him in a while. Xarbin was obviously putting out some videos and was on A Gypsy's Kiss a few times. That is Nebraska backwards. We all know that. He's a business owner, obviously very busy. So we haven't seen any videos from him. Hopefully we'll see some updates from him. The Blaze of Glory, Eric Hall's been very consistent and putting out great videos. I always love Eric Hall's videos because he's always in some different areas. I'm not quite sure about his profession, but he has the time to go out there and put out you know, good videos of where he's at and show some good scenery and photos. So Eric Hall, we'd love to keep seeing the videos coming from you. Britt Chaser, who I know is in the chat room tonight. Britt Chaser, one of our friends from across the pond, has put out some great videos. You know, him and I have butted heads a little bit, but that's okay. That's what this is all about. You know, we don't always have to agree with each other, you know, but he's obviously been on A Gypsy's Kiss and done some great videos and commentary. It always sounds much more believable coming from that British accent. And his, you know, friend from across the pond, Paul, I'll talk about him as well. But Bill Gorman, obviously our good friend Bill Gorman, you know, who's in the chat room tonight. Bill's been a constant steady, one of the original, you know, Fenntubers out there. Again, like I said, with, you know, A Gypsy's Kiss, Bill Gorman, and oh God, I'm done. Calazars, you know, all three of those guys I like to claim are some of the original Fenntubers out there that really started this whole Fenntube sensation that we've seen this last year. So Bill Gorman, again, none of us can forget, Bill, your Double Blazes video. It's great. They named a beer after you here on you know, at the Three Rivers Brewery. So love you, Bill. You know, Bill and I, you know, had some disagreements this year, but we were able to mend those fences and move on. I think that's great. We love having Bill in the chat room. Does some great stuff out there. We love watching Bill's live videos. Are a lot of fun. You know, we get to see some great scenery and stuff from him. So Bill, we want to keep seeing them coming, brother. Next is Blaze Gazer. Blaze Gazer put a few videos out there. One of the funniest videos I thought that Blaze Gazer put out was his whole headlamp. He had this headlamp on and trying to show his stuff. I don't know what he was doing, but Blaze Gazer, we love you, brother. Putting out some videos out there. Mike Cowlings, you know, Calazars, obviously we all know Mike. Mike has been all about, you know, doing the swag for the chase community, doing the coins, the maps, the auctions, you know, everything else. Mike puts an amazing amount of effort in putting this stuff together. We may not all agree with it. We may look at it. He's trying to profit off the chase. It's, guys, we live in a capitalist, you know, society. That's what it is. If you don't like it, that's fine. You know, but he puts a lot of effort into this. You got to give him props for that. You know, he puts out things for you guys. May not always agree with him. He's put out some great videos, and we look forward to seeing some more stuff from him. You know, the Calazars Grand Adventure. You know, him and K-Pro are working together with some other Fenntubers out there to put some of these coins out there hidden for. I think it's a lot of fun. Doesn't mean everybody has to agree with it, but I appreciate what Mike is doing. It's a different side of the chase. We just have different personalities that are doing different things, and I think we should all have respect for everybody out there. But Mike, love what you're doing. Keep them going, brother. Stay away from the yogurt. My good friend, DeCall Thomas in the 800-foot salamander. He's the Omega Man, you know, as I like to call it. He's a good friend of mine. We are different spectrums of this chase, but he's put out some great videos. He's one of the few people that have fully published his solve and have stood behind it. We give him a hard time about the 800-foot salamander, but we love him. He's the brown or the black-hatted man, or as Bill Gorman wants to say, the brown-hatted guy. Figuring out Forrest. That's Sean Martinez, our good friend from down south here in New Mexico. He's put out some great videos. He's been on a lot of, A Gypsy's Kisses videos. He's been on our after hours encore videos. He's a lot of fun. He's a very intelligent guy. He's got a perspective from an investigator's perspective. I think he adds a lot to the chase. Sean, we look forward to seeing some more videos from you this year. Fenn Treasure Hunters. Jason Dent, man, is awesome. He's put out a lot of great content. He's had a lot of fun this year. We've had him on our show. I've been on his show. We've done a lot of fun. Jason, we always looking for exciting stuff from you. One of the funnest things I love from Jason Dent was the whole thank you letters that he put out. So Jason, you need to go back to the thank you letters and put out some stuff. We look forward to some stuff from you guys. Next is Joe Fox from Fox Gaming. Want to give some props to Joe Fox. We haven't seen anything from you in a while, but hopefully we'll see some stuff from you here in 2019. Next is some new Fenntuber out there, which is the Hoosier Sisters. They put out some really good content. They just put out a video about the Blaze just here this last week. We're looking for some new content from you guys as well. IG, or Illinois Ghost, or as I like to say, Illinois Ghost. I can't pronounce it. But Rick McDonald, our good friend, has put out an amazing amount of content this last year. Again, I give him the Ironman Award. He's going out there searching all the miles he's driven, the cars he's broken down, the jobs he's gone through, everything else. The man is just consistent. He's tenacious. He's going out there and doing it. Love you, Rick. Keep putting out great content. Next is It Is What It Is Productions, our friend Eric Johnson and his cat Tober. He's put out a lot of fun videos. I think his best video that he really put out was his video about how easy it is for a treasure chest to be hidden. And he put out that, I think it was like a 2-part video where he showed where he put this mock treasure chest and he put it out there on some trails and how easy it was for it to just be lost in Mother Nature. So great videos. We always love the stuff that Eric is putting out. Keep up the videos. We love seeing Tober. Fun stuff. Our good friend Joe Lewicki, or our resident lawyer within the chase, he's got one of the best beards other than Welder for Hire in the chase. So I'm a little jealous of his beard, so that's why I had to grow it out. Joel, we love some of your videos. We love to hear some of your stuff, so keep putting them out. Next is Jenny and her husband Malin Kyle of Mysterious Writings. They put out a lot of great content. Jenny Kyle obviously has the Mysterious Writings forum and the 6 questions that we're all looking forward to coming up. She's always putting out great content. Obviously the gold medallions, which we just had the first one that was found. I thought that was awesome. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. Jenny, we look forward to more great stuff from you this year. Joe Monday, our good friend, Colonel Kurtz, is obviously putting out fun videos and doing his fun spin on things. Love it. Keep it up. Journeyman, obviously Journeyman, I think, is in the chat room tonight. We love some of the stuff you're putting out. The Journeyer, I think the Journeyer put out the one, a couple of parody videos that he put out. One I thought was the funniest of the year was the whole AGK, sex parody, which I thought was hilarious, which I wish was still up, but it's not. K-Pro, Christy, we know from the Hint of Riches from the Raven's Nest, has obviously put out some content and put out some videos. A lot of her stuff is now tailored up with working with Mike Cowlings with Calazars, which is great. She obviously runs the Hint of Riches forum, so some great content from her. Looking for more stuff from her in Calazars this year. Lucky Love has a channel. She doesn't really put out any individual interpretations or content, but she's obviously put a channel together which has a lot of good videos. She found the one video from the cutting room floor that Forrest Fenn had mentioned that, he had received a picture from people. We never heard that before. I thought that was great. So some good stuff we heard over the last year or so. Forrest Fenn for Trickster of the Year. Yeah, sure, Brad. Absolutely. He's a trickster every year. Next is Man Alone. Man Alone is very consistent about putting out, Forrest Fenn content, metal detecting content, fishing content. We love hearing from his stuff. I don't always necessarily agree with the stuff, but he's putting out great content, and it's good stuff out there. So Madeline, I don't even know your first name, but keep putting stuff out. We love hearing from you. Man in the Barn, Brian, his whole home of baloney. We had Brian on here on the flip side. Good friend of mine. I love hearing his stuff. Brian, we're hoping to get some good stuff from you this year. Hopefully you'll put out some content. We look forward to hearing more from you. Man in the Park, or used to be Mr. Bryce. I keep waiting for his dog to take a crap on video. He's put out some good stuff out there. We don't know who you are. We know your dog, but always putting out some great videos out there. Marshall Moyle, again, I talked about, I think, one of the best videos of the year, his documentary, the amount of time and investment. I think it catches the whole spirit of the chase. Great video from him. I don't know if we'll see anything more from Marshall Moyle, but obviously I want to give some props to him. The guys from Men Are So Smart. We haven't heard anything from those guys in a while, but our friends, Ronnie and Lou from Gallagher Entertainment, they put out some Forrest Fenn content this year, but we haven't heard anything from a while. Hopefully we'll get some more from those guys. Shannon Newts, obviously, of the Odious Soul. Again, I think our Fenntuber of the year. She's put out the way that she orchestrates and takes the time to put her stuff together is very well orchestrated, very well organized, and puts it all together. Doesn't necessarily all agree with it, but I think that she does a great job of putting it all together. So props to her, my agreeance of the Fenntuber of the year. Paul, our friend from across the pond, the UK. I like to call him Man in the Kitchen. He's put out a lot of great videos. I love hearing from him. I think he was in the chat room earlier today. I know it's late, probably 10 o'clock his time there on a Sunday or Monday. I don't know what it is over there, but great. We love hearing some more stuff from you, Paul. Keep doing it. RF Hecky, our crazy wino Aunt Susie, I like to call her, is always consistently putting out good content that really centers around, the books and illustrations and things. I think it's great. We love hearing that difference of opinions on stuff that's out there. So Susie, RF Hecky, keep putting out your great content. We love hearing from you. Keep going. Mark Connor is saying Men Are So Smart put out one today. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Thank you, Mark, for giving us an update on that. I didn't know that. My good friend Rodney Greenway, I like to call Man in a Car. We still want to get that guy a new steering wheel cover. So we need to have a raffle and run some money up for him to get that guy a new wheel cover for his steering wheel. But Ronnie's always putting out fun stuff. I think he tries to get away from his wife, and I'm going to go run to the store and do a quick video. I don't know what he does, but I like Rodney. I like listening to him. He's a fun guy. Next is Rambling Pam, our mellow yellow searcher. Rambling Pam, we all are kind of envious of her. She has this great motorhome and F-150 and Jeep that she gets to, trapsidize all across the Rocky Mountains and everywhere. But she puts out some great, it's not always Forrest Fenn related stuff, but some of the places her and her husband get to go visit. It's a lot of fun. I love what she does. Keep it up, Rambling. We're looking for more fun stuff from you. Next is Treasure Tracer. Treasure Tracer has put out a few videos. We haven't heard anything from him in a while, but he did put out a few videos. It was the Invisible Man videos, I like to call them. But we're looking forward to hopefully getting some more stuff from Treasure Tracer this year. Next is Teton Trapper. Teton Trapper, put out some fun videos where he did some kind of fun roasts and did some fun stuff. And unfortunately, he was kind of wrapped up in some people took offense to some of the stuff he was putting out. I think, again, guys, I think we all take ourselves way too seriously. We just ought to have a little bit more fun with this. So hopefully maybe we'll get some stuff back from Teton Trapper this year and just have fun with this, guys. Let's not take ourselves way too seriously. But I think an honorable mention, one of the funniest videos of this year was this whole roast of Shelly and him dressing up as Shelly. I thought it was funny. Not everybody got to see it, but it is what it is. When I went over Sakar and Sir Crow. Sakar and Sir Crow obviously did some videos this year. There was some answers to the the round tables this year that they put out some videos. I definitely wanted to give those two some props as well. Didn't mean to go over you guys. Thrill of the Treasure. This is Dal Neitzel's videos that he's put out. So he's got a YouTube channel called Thrill of the Chase, and that's Dal Neitzel's videos that he's put up on YouTube. We also got That Guy, which is we know is Kyle Sandow. Kyle Sandow has put out a lot of videos. A lot of his stuff centers around his research and going into different historical figures within Forrest Fenn's past, also San Lazaro and some other videos. But I think he's an amazing researcher. I give him a lot of props. If I was to put anybody on my research team, I would definitely love to have Kyle Sandow on that team. Then we have Thrill of the Treasure. This is kind of a new person who came in about the middle of the year, who put out a lot of great videos, some great content. We don't know who this person is. I think it's I'm not sure who it is, but he's put out some great content. Next is Treasures Galore, which I think someone's saying, Rodney's saying he doesn't think it's Kyle, is that guy. I think it is. Next is Treasures Galore, which is Ken Knerf. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. He's put out some great videos as well. And then I also want to give out to Urban Taint. Urban Taint put out a lot of great videos that were centered around the books and stuff like that. We haven't heard anything from Urban Taint in a while, but hopefully this year we'll hear something from him. Obviously, Why Must I Go? Why Must I Go, kind of like me, has taken a lot of heat this year as far as poem purity and punctuation and stuff goes. But Why Must I Go is always putting out great content, is really poem focused. So he's obviously had a lot of fun videos out there that he's put together as well. So we're looking forward to some more great content from Why Must I Go this year. And then last but not least, we had Welder for Hire, who I like to call the best beard in the chase. He put out some good stuff this year. We haven't heard from him in a while, so hopefully we'll hear some more from Welder for Hire this year. And now I want to transition, but before I do, guys, got a couple of beers. I need to go use the head once again, guys. So I'm going to go run to the bathroom. You guys talk to yourself. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I took my son over there. Do you like it? Yeah, it's nice. I have a couple of friends that are over there that work there. I think they do. I don't really do like the whole wax or the oils or no. What is it? Yeah.
I'm back. Did you guys miss me? What are you guys talking about? I mean, totally no bathroom breaks. There's no way I could go drinking this beer and then having no bathroom breaks, guys. So somebody bought me a beer. Just want to say thank you. Cheers. All right, guys. So yeah, we talked about all the Fenntubers this year. We talked about all the the different Q&As we've had. We talked about the scrapbooks. We talked about the articles that we had on the chase. So I really just want to kind of transition on to 2019. What do we expect from this upcoming year? And I really just want to talk about, what you can expect from this channel, the flip side, moving forward in 2018. There's been a lot of, talk about bringing the weekend update back. Guys, that takes up a lot of time. and that time is taken away from family and those types of things. So what I want to commit to doing, for the channel is trying to do like a once a month update. And what I say by that is trying to put together, the end of the month, put together a monthly wrap up of everything that happened that month in the chase. So it'll generally be, around that last weekend of the month. If it's close and I can work something out the last day of the month, I'll try and put that together for you guys. But I want it to be just a, just me kind of doing that weekend update, and I'll try and keep it to an hour, just wrapping everything up that happened that month, talking about the Fenntube community, what's going on in the forums and everything else. So that's one thing I want to try and commit to, on the flip side for for the subscribers and those of you guys out in the community. I'd like to try and do kind of a once a month panel show. We're just bringing some key players and people in, to do, just once a month, on a weekend or a weekday or something, try and do kind of a show like that. I've had a lot of, positive feedback on Fennsomnia. So I'd like to maybe, do a Fennsomnia show once a month on like a Friday or Saturday night, late at night, like 10 o'clock on Mountain Time, and just for you guys who, who can't sleep and you got Fenn on the brain, and just, just talk about topics that are going on, and maybe bring somebody in and talk with them as well. But also, do kind of special shows once in a while. We've got, I've committed to doing a February 4th show, which is on a Monday, that'll immediately follow the 6 questions that we're going to get from Jenny. So, I'm committed to doing special shows like that. So, immediately following this show, I'll probably put out a countdown for that show to follow. So, we'll get the 6 questions from Jenny sometime in the afternoon of February 4th. And then we'll do a show that'll be the first live show to talk about, what came out. I've kind of put out a thread over on Harry's forum. I know maybe some of you don't or subscribe to that forum or whatever, but talks about the predictions of what we may see. And I've kind of talked about those things. I won't go in depth. If you're curious about that, you can go over to Harry's and you can read it. It's on the general format, so you don't have to be a member to see that, I don't believe. But if you're not a member, I suggest you become a member of Harry's forum, and you can see a lot of stuff that's going on over there. But I want to commit to this show always being the non-PC beer drinking, thrill of the chase talking show. I've talked about, you guys know about some of the drama that happened here in the last month or so. I've kind of committed on cutting back on some of that, drama, and trying to stay away from that. And I'm going to be committed to that. But I always will try and keep the show as a straightforward, calling out things that I just don't see, as right in the chase, and whatever that may be. But as far as the name calling and the drama and the back channel stuff, I'm going to try and really isolate myself from some of that stuff. There's been a lot of stuff going on that I don't care to talk about, that I just don't want to be a part of. And, but I will always try and keep myself balanced and be somewhat of a voice of reason within this stuff. Again, I'm biased just like everybody else. So you got to take it with a grain of salt, I guess, guys. Right, Jerry. Drama in the chase, right? I mean, but that's part of it. It's just part of this whole adventure that we're all in. There's gonna be that. Again, like I say, us Fenntubers, those of you that are prominent, posters in the forums and everything else, we all open ourselves up to this stuff. And if you're going to be prominent, you're not going to be a lurker in this. You've got to accept that you're going to have people that are not going to agree with you and are going to vehemently, I can't get that word right, or definitely going to disagree with you and are going to say it in negative ways. And most of us have been part of that. And when you get out here and your full name is out there, you're going to have people that are going to do negative things. I mean, I've had people contact my employer, and say negative things about me, and for whatever reasons, that's happened to other people as well. And I think that is crossing a line. But when we put ourselves out there and we put our names out there, we're opening ourselves up for that, and we have to accept that those things are going to happen. I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to accept the negativity, and I have to be humble in understanding those things. Again, I'm a passionate person in this chase. That makes me emotional on either spectrum, whether I'm angry at somebody or whether I'm emotional and I'm hurt on the other spectrum of those. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's going to happen. And I'm just going to be myself, and will always be that and truthful to you guys. What else I want to say? I don't know. I just want to have fun. And that's what it's about. You know, I started this endeavor almost a year ago with you know, the Dirt Road Diary, which transitioned into the flip side. And I just want to have fun with this. This is my thrill of the chase. Your thrill of the chase is completely different. Whether that be being a lurker and not saying anything at all, or claiming that the treasure hunt is a hoax, or claiming it's this or that. Each one of us, the thrill of the chase is completely different for each and every one of us. But we're just here to have fun, guys. And I'm glad that you guys came and joined us this afternoon. I know it's been a long show. Told you guys it was going to be 2 hours or better. There's a lot to cover. But I've had a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys joined me. I'm just going to take a few minutes to go through the chat room, see if I make sure I didn't miss anything you guys were saying. So give me a second here. No, Huli or HBird, whoever you are, I did close down the Facebook page. There was some reasons for that. I'm debating about bringing a Flipside Facebook page back up. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I shut it down for some personal reasons. Minotaur Marino, debate and passionate arguments are good. Drama, not so much. I agree. You know, they're debate and passionate arguments are good, I think. But where is that line between drama and passion? I think when it comes to name calling and you know, delving into people's personal lives and stuff like that, there is a line that is crossed. Again, we put ourselves out there. We have to expect that shit's going to happen, and it does, unfortunately. And we have to accept that. Have I probably crossed the line a couple times and said some things I should have said? Sure, I'll own up to that, and I'll make sure that I'm a better person moving forward after that. You know, I've made some apologies to people. You know, I've tried mending fences, burying the hatchet with people. You know, I've done things that I think that I've gone out of my way to mend some of the things that I possibly you could say I've done wrong in the chase. But I'm human, you know. I'm just like everybody else in this, and take it for what it's worth, I guess. But drama is just part of it, guys. We've got to accept that that's going to happen. Oh, Matt Bear, you're saying address the David Cody interview. Yeah, Davio22, I think, was the one who posted that. There was a lot of good stuff in there. Matt Bear, I'm not a big proponent of that video, but I know a lot of people are. I didn't go into deep analysis or reading into that video, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. You know, there's some stuff that Forrest Fenn did say in there I think is good information, but I didn't go deep into it, so I can't speak intelligently about that. Sorry, partner. Whistlebird Productions, that's a new one I haven't seen. Attention everyone, best hunt video out there. That's a good one. I don't know. I really like Marshall Moyle's video, but if you call that a hunt video, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I know a lot of you guys are probably wanting to get over to the playoffs and watch the Eagles and who are the Eagles and who else play? Oh, the Saints. Yeah, I'd like to go watch it myself, but I really haven't watched football this much here. Minotaur, love what you're doing. Don't beat yourself up too much. Hey, we gotta keep it real, Minotaur. You know, I'm just as human as the next person. It is personal. I think we all should be. We're all different. I think my wife has said it perfectly. Said it very well. You know what Mike, you know, does and his promotion of the chase and everything else is different than what we do here. And I think that a lot of you guys understand that you're obviously intelligent people. We all do things differently. Mike's caught a lot of flack for what people think is capitalizing on the chase, but I think if you really delve down into it and the amount of effort and time that Mike has put into this whole coins thing and mailing off these things and doing all that, I mean, you got to really look at this, guys. I mean, the guys can't even be making minimum wage and putting this thing together. I respect Mike. I like Mike. I think Mike, you need to get some boots on the ground, out there. I'd love to see that video. Hopefully we'll get something out there. Heck, Mike, I'd love to come out there with you and just have some fun. I think Mike is a good guy. I give him a lot of crap, the Paul Mazars and everything else. It's just fun. It's back and forth. It's banner back and forth. But I think at some point, it got a little too personal, and we just need to back off on that and just realize that we're all different in this chase. The thrill of the chase for each and every one of us is completely different. What it is for you is not the same for me. What it is for Mike is not the same for you. We're all in this thing differently, and we all just ought to have somewhat mutual respect for each other. So, yeah, I mean, Jeremy, I agree. Mike is a very smart guy. I mean, absolutely. We're all just different have capabilities, out there and doing this thing. Anyway, guys, I know I've gone on, rambled on. It's just me talking to you guys, talking to myself, whatever. Again, guys, this is supposed to be the 2018 wrap up of kind of what I see as everything that went on in the chase, some of the important stuff. Throw out some props to all those that put a lot of time into this chase. Give out some random awards. Just have fun with this. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Again, guys, I'm not worried about subscribers, likes, all that other stuff. I'm glad that you guys have taken the time out of your afternoon to come spend a couple hours with me. I hope that you guys have had a good time, and we will catch you all on the flip side. Have a good afternoon, guys. Bye.